Hey, this is Nick the Mining Book Guy. It's Monday, May 21st, 2018, early evening. As you can see, this is another video on Mundoro Capital, MUN, on the TSXV. I'm going to try to make this quicker than the last one. Importantly, I have one big idea, which is based on this image right in front of you. What's cool is that this is from a new PowerPoint from Mundoro from about a week ago, where they've had this same map of the Timok Magmatic complex, but it wasn't close to as colorful or as clear as this one. So kudos to Mundoro for putting this out there. This is actually the best map I've seen anywhere, and it's so important that the whole video is about this map within Serbia. It's also about juniors related to this and Serbia as a whole. I'm going to try to be relatively quick, but if you enjoy this video, please make sure to check out my previous video if you haven't yet, which is longer and more detailed, and much more focused on Mundoro. And even better, check out the CEO Teodechev's last presentation, which I think is the best presentation she's ever done. And while what I'm presenting here is just focused on Serbia, keep in mind Mundoro has some really exciting Bulgaria projects as well, but I'll be talking about Bulgaria likely in a future video. So let's get right to it. Well, don't want to spend too much time here. Slightly sad that since my previous video, and you can see this is a 1-year chart, and we'll go into a 3-month. Previous video was at 12 cents, stock moved up a little bit, and now it's back to 11 cents. Well, I would have preferred for it to move up, but the good news is it's as cheap as ever. You know, still less than a 3 million enterprise value, or slightly higher than that. You know, less than 8 million market cap. I am happy that volume has moved up a bit. I've gotten some good private messages, and I can tell that new people are discovering Mundoro. The most exciting drilling at Borsko hasn't started yet. There's other catalysts as well, but I do think this is leading up to a very exciting summer. That's why I'm making all these videos. So I'm going to be talking about other juniors here, but keep in mind Mundoro is my favorite, but yeah, be on the lookout in the next few months for Mundoro catalysts. But in terms of immediate things, reasons to get even more excited, May 8th, there was the announcement, or at least within a couple-day period, of Nevsun rejecting bids from Eurosun / Lundin Mining. Kind of complicated M&A, but it definitely got the attention of a lot more people. This is directly from Nevsun's website for the press release. There's a lot of other places you can read about this. You know, search for Nevsun, Lundin, Eurosun. But it did catch my attention that Bloomberg had a feature article that made the homepage. Good title, Lundin's new play for Serbia copper fueled by dearth of deposits. Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of new eyeballs on Serbia, and what I think is particularly interesting to Mundoro shareholders, followers, and people looking at smaller juniors is that too much attention has been given to Nevsun and previously Reservoir Minerals Discovery without looking at the other players there. So again, going back to the Timok district, this is right at the center of it, and there are some key juniors you probably haven't heard of. But before I get into the first one, at Manic Miner, shout out to him. He introduced me to this first junior, which is Raiden Resources, RDN on the ASX. Wouldn't surprise me if just about nobody in North America knows about it. But kind of a secret shout out, I found it very amusing that coincidentally a few days later, I was going through a Pamplona Trader watch list, pre-discovery watch list, and not too many people know about, and I saw that Raiden Resources was on there. And so, you know, that's why it's neat to do some, deep dives into ceo.ca. But you can see in the Raiden Resources room at ceo.ca, nobody. Then you go over to hotcopper. Oh, tons of posts. This is actually quite active for a little junior like this. What's even more unusual is with all this activity, I can't seem to find a website or even a PowerPoint which is kind of weird. I'm probably going to post this video on hotcopper and see if someone can point me in the right direction. But there's a good reason that Manic Miner brought it up to me in the first place, and I think it turned a lot of heads. You know, people who are paying attention to ASX. I missed this, that there was a Rio Tinto JV, very solid terms, similar to their other JVs, and so this is for projects in Serbia, with one of the projects as part of the JV right in the Timok complex, and then one of them on the Bulgaria-Serbia border. So that's pretty exciting. This market cap might be off a little bit. What's interesting is I believe the current market cap and enterprise value are very similar to Mundoro. So a lot of parallels already, but then I looked into the prospectus, and I'm not linking that directly. You can find it, but what I did is I actually searched for these detailed images in the prospectus. So this blue and red, that is part of the Rio JV for Raiden Resources. The yellow is Magmatic. What's interesting is this is all Mundoro. In fact, I think Mundoro got additional claims, so they're right at the border. So there's a few things here. One, this immediately validates what Mundoro has even further. And don't forget, they're JV'd with Magmatic, the Japanese national resource company. And I feel that, Rio JVing here shows that they're very interested in this whole area. But also, it should make you wonder, you know, like, well, Mundoro's been here for at least 6 years, 2011, 2012. And so why was this land even available? Raiden was a private company. I'm not sure when they first picked it up. Then they just went public recently, or so. I think there's interest here, but it wouldn't surprise me if this is not even as interesting as the current Mundoro land. Regardless, though, I don't want to knock down Rio and Raiden. It makes this whole part of the Timok complex exciting. But then something even favors Mundoro even further. This is not JV'd with Rio, but how odd for Raiden to pick up all this funny little slivers of land, all these colors. And so the Bore mine is right here. But even more importantly, look how this hugs Borsko. This is Mundoro right here, and actually Kukaropecki's down here, and all of this is Mundoro. So really, this screams squatting. I don't know if they're even going to do work here, but it's almost like they're all set with their land in case Mundoro makes an economic discovery, and they can immediately re-rate from that. So that's even more validation, in my opinion, of Mundoro. This might be a little hard, to grasp, but that's why you need to stare at these maps enough. So what we're just looking at right there, all these slivers, that's all this open space here, and then that yellow, all this yellow stuff, getting into more of the Bore mine, Bore and Veliki Kriveli is right here. I mean, that's a hot area. So somehow, kudos to Raiden for getting that, but I just don't feel like it's going to be worked, and I feel like it validates Borsko even more. Still part of the Magmatic JV. And so keep in mind Kukaropecki is right here. So very, very hot area, possibilities of future discoveries. I have to add, though, the biggest weakness for Raiden, in my opinion, it's not even the amount of shares out, which would turn off people in North America, having over 400 million. To me, it's the 200 million performance shares, which I think is a little odd. I'm not going to go into detail. I actually haven't studied it closely enough because there's a lot of details in the prospectus. This is kind of a little flyer. They should get a better PowerPoint, but I just didn't like that too much. Though, of all the companies I'm talking about here, I think Raiden is the most intriguing to me. So I don't own any of the companies I'm mentioning, but Raiden, definite positive. If Mundoro didn't exist, I'd probably own shares in Raiden, but I still like Mundoro a lot better, especially with all the Bulgaria stuff. So definitely keep an eye on Raiden. I'll be interested to see they're advancing their projects and Rio advancing the JV. But moving on, Tethyan Resources, TETH on the TSXV. Interestingly, used to be listed on AIM in London. They delisted on AIM and then relisted on the TSXV simultaneously, which in my opinion has led to even fewer people knowing about them. I do know that some of the team members or directors are well respected, very tight share structure. Interestingly, market cap, and you back out the cash. The enterprise value is not too different from Mundoro either. So definitely on my radar for interest. Website's pretty good, but what's key, and in case I didn't highlight it enough, that Raiden JV with Rio Tinto was middle of March. Well, on March 6th, just a little earlier, Raiden Resources announced that they picked up this land. These two red things right at the bottom of the Timok complex. By the way, this is all Mundoro, all 100% owned. All of this red stuff, which is 100% owned, is exactly the same as this green stuff. I keep going back and forth because this is so valuable to me. So, if you don't own any of these companies and have no interest, as an additional takeaway, if you're a newbie, so you study these maps, you'll really get an edge. I just really recommend, staring at them enough until you get it. And so another way of looking at it, those two red things, the whole Timok complex is up here, and this is the two things picked up. But keep in mind, I believe these are secondary projects for Tethyan Resources, and the main projects are over here. There's some copper, gold, porphyry. There's some lead, zinc, silver near Kosovo. It's an interesting company. I'm a little concerned they don't have as much cash as I'd like, and yeah, there's some good stuff going. But the fact they picked this up and it's secondary, I think it validates Mundoro's properties. And I didn't mention this as clearly in my last video. There should be a JV somewhere here for Mundoro, or we'll say hopefully a JV maybe by Q3, and that will be huge. It'll help both Tethyan and Mundoro in the whole area. So anyway, this helps. This is really interesting. So, you got Tethyan Resources, you've got Raiden Resources, but then we look in a different area, Medgold, MED on the TSXV. Quick shout out to Alina Chow, who is their IR. She reached out to me just a few days before this video, which it was total coincidence. I can tell that Medgold is doing a bit of a push. She's going to help me get in touch with Dan James, the president. Alina is also the IR at Orca Gold, where I've had success, so that's why we have a connection there. So I appreciate all of that. But I believe you could say it's also related to, I'm not a huge fan right now because the market cap's kind of high, though, that's mostly relative to the companies we just talked about. So they have less than $1 million in cash and their market cap's like 24 million. It's moved up a bit. So a negative and a positive. A shout out to cdn.miner.ca, where I had a nice Skype call with immediately after we had these messages, kind of about comparing Medgold to Mundoro. So I'll link, this will be the link below. I don't need to go through this again. I do like Medgold, but these are all the reasons which are still true for why I like Mundoro so much more than Medgold. But Medgold is drilling right now, I believe about 1,200 meters. It's potentially a gold-silver epithermal system, possibly high grade near surface, and those results should come in a few weeks. Who knows? Maybe someone has insight, and that's why it's spiking up even higher. I think there's reasons to be cautious here, but hey, this will multi-bag from here if they have a really nice high-grade discovery. So I've got my eyes on Medgold. I've got my call with Dan James in the next few days, and so it's definitely on my radar. And it'd be great for Serbia if they do well. And then this just to confirm, it's actually, yeah, you can see down here near Bulgaria and Macedonia. So totally different part of Serbia. But that's it for Medgold. And then to round out, so this one's probably not on too many radars either. Jadar Lithium. I think it's pronounced Jadar like Yadarite. You actually can see what lithium Yadarite deposits look like. Still don't know that much about lithium, but this might interest some people. JDR on the ASX. Interestingly, also small market cap. I think they actually have more cash than it seems. So I may take a closer look. I know less about this than the other companies, but I'm kind of interested just for the whole Serbia connection. There is some activity, not as much as Raiden Resources, but what's really neat is that they've got multiple licenses, and a few of them are very close to Rio's advanced Jadar project. And I think that's really important, and this starts to bring wrap us around to other things that, or other important points regarding Rio. So there's again, links below, but there's some neat comments here. This just pulled from the Rio website. A lot about the Jadar project, but then there was some history here that led me to find this news release from 2017, Memorandum of Understanding between Government of Serbia and Rio on Jadar. What's important here is this is not just related to the Jadar project, though that is important because they've already invested 90 million US. So clearly Rio and Serbia have a good relationship, but I think it absolutely applies to a long-term strategy of Rio investment across Serbia. And so then we get back to thinking about the Timok district, and I could spend a ton more time on this, but super important. Actually, I need to backtrack and then we'll wrap this up. One more shout out to Critical Investor. Some comments that I don't agree with, but that's what I'm always looking for. I don't know if he saw my last video, but he definitely made comments that were kind of related to that content. And without trying, I don't want to mess around with the context too much, but his last point, today you need something special for sure at depth, talking about discovery in the Timok district, and we were talking about neurology. And so I think you could argue back and forth about, the probabilities of finding another Kukaru-Peki or, anything high grade. I agree it's not going to be easy, but at the same time, it's not just the rocks that are important here. It's the fact that Rio seems to be JVing as much as they can. So these are Rio JVs with Nevsun, and you can see, that's why I love this little diagram. It's so easy to understand. Rio is all this yellow. Rio is also in this blue with, it was with the JV with Avala, but Avala was acquired by Dundee Precious Metals. So that as well. And then what we were describing earlier, the Rio JV up here, this Raiden Resources would be right here, right near Magmatic. And then we know Raiden is around here too. I mean, seriously, like Rio is all over the place, and they're absolutely looking for tier 1 discoveries and probably high grade at depth. And to me, the most interesting thing is that Borsko is starting to resemble Kukaru-Peki, and it's JV'd with Jogmek, and Jogmek in a lot of ways is a bit of the equivalent of Rio. I actually like the terms of the JV a lot, but whatever. Anyway, I'm not going to go into too much more detail, but Mundoro has all of this. Who knows what their JV partner will be? It could be a Rio, could be a Dundee, and then don't forget Freeport has the interest in well at least still has the interest here. Anyway, that's a signal to finish up. I'm super excited about Mundoro, but I'm also excited about all these other little companies, and I'm excited about Rio's interest in Serbia, and there's a lot of catalysts coming. I hope you got something out of this video, and again, if you want to do more research and whether you knew about these or not, definitely take a look at my original Mundoro video, a lot just on Mundoro. This Borsko thing I think is very interesting to learn about, and also Tio's video. Maybe just watch Tio's video. I think it's great, so I can't recommend it enough. This is Nick, the Mining Book Guy. Thanks so much for watching. I will have something new for you soon. Take care. Bye.